Bases dropped very early here in Denver, Colorado. Getting ready for Atlanta United and the Colorado Rapids tomorrow from Dick's Sporting Goods Park out in Commerce City. It's going to be a lot different than it is today in Denver, which is really weird, but weather has gotten really weird these days. Today, it's going to be very nice. Team's going to train this afternoon. High 60s, maybe 70, and then tomorrow, snow, rain, freezing rain, sleet, whatever you want to call it, slush, yay. Not supposed to be a ton of accumulation. It'll be cold. As the game goes, it'll get colder. Anywhere between 40 and upper 20s is what we're looking at. Big shift from the weather that we walked into getting off the plane yesterday. So this is going to be really odd tomorrow. I think the game could be really odd too. We'll get into that as we go today. Greg Garza joins us at 9:30. Mike Conti joins us at 10. The last half hour is our sprint through the MLS Week 2 schedule. We'll give you some MLS fantasy advice as well. Packed show, but we've got Jarrett for the first half hour and the last half hour. We're breaking substitution rules for Jarrett Smith today.
That's just what we do. Rules are meant to be broken on SDH. Rules like that are meant to be broken.
That is true. Speaking of maybe breaking the rules or tweaking the rules, I want to get into a theoretical thing with you guys, which is sometimes dangerous, but we're going to try. John Mueller of The Athletic in the UK went very bold and chose violence this morning with his article over at The Athletic. I'm just going to read you the tweet. And first off, I don't necessarily disagree with him, but we'll get there. John says, penalties turn attacks with a 6% chance of scoring into 78% chances when a penalty is awarded. This is insane. It's the worst rule in sports. It's time to listen to Johan Cruyff and write 35-yard running penalties into the laws of the game. Now, first off, I did not ever remember Johan Cruyff asking or advocating for regular penalty kicks when penalties are awarded to go away in favor of the 35-yard shootout style penalty. I always remembered hearing Cruyff and actually quite a few other legends who played in the old NASL advocate for that as the tiebreaker rather than penalties as a tiebreaker in a tie-breaking situation, the shootout versus penalties, which I am in favor of. It's not going to happen because it's my game and her. But you know, it's I think a more fair way to decide this thing. But Jarrett, when you get to that first sentence, which is accurate, you know, look, we talk about XG all the time now, right? You can have a percentage of the chance of a goal, and generally where somebody is fouled in the 18, I mean, it could be 6%, it might be a little bit more. There's a variable to it. But it's not 78%. Typically, a lot of times a penalty is given for a not so great possible chance that might not even be a real chance. And then you get a 78% chance. Now, defenders know that risk, but is it time? I'll take a step back from violence this morning. Is it time to possibly look at all fouls in the 18 should not be penalties, as opposed to completely getting rid of penalties and going to a 35-yard running penalty? I kind of think that might be a conversation to have. I don't know how you set it up, though. I have no idea.
I don't know. Do you make it a penalty inside the 6-yard box and make it a run-up on the 18? Like, I mean,
I wouldn't do the run-up. Now, this is where I differ from it. I wouldn't do the run-up ever. That's a shootout decider for me. That's a penalty tiebreaker decider. Like that's not in the run of the game for me at all. But is it a direct free kick from inside the 18? You know, if it is outside of 10 yards from goal, is it a direct free kick in some fouls as opposed to others? I see. This is the thing. Like, you're going to have to really rewrite the laws of the game. It's not as simple as you say every penalty is this, because I'm going to feel aggrieved if Luis Suarez pops up and does what he did, which was, again, as we've said many times on this show, we are team Luis Suarez handball, I think, at SDH. But if you do that, that's more than a 6% chance of a goal. That has to be a penalty, right?
It does.
I know I'm making you think this morning, Jared.
I mean, do you redefine what counts as a quote unquote penalty? Do you go to what are you going to do? Bring in indirect free kicks into the fray? Like,
you get those occasionally.
You do.
They're chaos. I don't know. Like, that's
you
the
have
thing.
Something that is you have something that is set right now in the way we do things. You're talking about this person is talking about doing a paradigm shift that is not going to go quietly.
No,
I'm here to tell him right now.
It's not going to happen. Like, first off,
no,
it's never going to happen. But let's play this hypothetical, because I'll tell you the penalties. I'll tell you the penalties that drive me crazy. And we see it all the time, and you see players play for it as well. You're on a dribbling run. You are dribbling away from goal, not intending to shoot, and you are tripped up or maybe accentuate contact or maybe just dive. And you get a penalty where there was no attempt, no shot attempt, no goal attempt. Are those ones that, okay, the referee has the decision, I can give penalty or I can give free kick from that spot? You're putting more in the hands of the referees, and I know that is terrifying to some.
Yeah, you're getting into judgment call territory in some cases, because then, what if it's not direct? What if somebody is running not directly away from the goal? Like, I get it. If somebody's running across the box and the goal is back behind them, and they do that, that's easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What if it's kind of at a weird diagonal angle and somebody can cut it back across and try and catch the keeper sleeping and go far corner? It gets into weird judgment call territory.
You're also, if in that idea, Jared, I think you're making the assumption of a subsequent action. I think that you'd have to take this at face value and go, okay, if the action is away from goal, there's no real direct idea of the ball being sent into the net. Your angle's away. The keeper is making a tackle. It's inside the 18. Those things, for me, I would have to take it literally line by line and go, oh, all right, if this action is away from goal, I'm not going to assume anything else. Then I would go, okay, indirect free kick or what have you. If the action is directly related to putting the ball in the net, then I would sit there and go penalty. That would be how I would delineate.
I think where I'm at with it, there does need to be a rethink of this. And there's an opportunity now with VAR involved and replay involved to really think about the laws of the game in a modern sense. A lot of these laws of the game are 100 years old plus and really haven't been adapted much for the modern game. I'm not advocating for what John Mueller at The Athletic is, where it becomes a 35-yard shootout rather than a penalty. I'm not for that, because I think there are situations that deserve the penalty kick. But I am advocating for maybe a situation where all fouls in the penalty area that would be direct kicks are not necessarily penalties. I think that could be a conversation to have. I doubt IFAB's going to take any of this up. They've got other things like actually trying to define what a handball is these days. They've got a few other things they got to sort out first. I would love if, instead of trying to shoehorn a second World Cup into a 4-year cycle, Arsene Wenger would use his brain power to these kinds of things to make the game better. Have that kind of a committee at FIFA and IFAB to say, let's get away from the convention. What can make the game better? Let's think outside the box. I'd love to see that conversation happen. I love that John Mueller wrote this. I love that the idea is now being talked about, but that's a little too much for me. There's probably an in-between that I'd be more comfortable with, but I 100% will put my hand up and say that penalty shootouts to determine a winner in a tie situation, I hate them. I'd rather see a 35-yard shootout. I think it is a more equitable opportunity. But that's just me. I also saw 35-yard shootouts quite a bit, and if you haven't grown up seeing them, you're probably going to think it's terrible and it was something from Ted Lasso and those stupid Americans.
That's the thing about it, is it is fun. And we have to make this separation of, yes, they were fun. Go back and watch them. They're a damn blast, but they can be taken seriously. It's not just fun in the sense of...
They're a better tiebreak for me. They're a better tiebreak because there's more skill involved. There is more of an opportunity for the goalkeeper to make a play. The goalkeepers have gotten better on penalties, obviously, over time. That 78% of penalties are converted. Used to be a lot higher than that. but a 35-yard shootout is a lot more of a 50-50 where it is skill from the individual, skill from the goalkeeper. It's more of a skillful way to decide the winner, in my opinion.
It is. And like I said, the issue I guess I have with it is the fact that you have this assumption that the only people who talk about 35 yards are the true degenerates of the old dark ages. And it's dismissed in hand as, oh, well, the only people I hear ever talk about that are the crazy people from the MLS dark ages, so we don't have to take it seriously. And so it gets kind of dismissed out of hand. As far as dealing with guys who might go down easy in the box, I feel like you're getting into NBA territory there with like the concept of, the James Harden and Trae Young rule, call it what it is, of, basically hunting for contact to get guys in foul trouble, to create those opportunities. And again, the problem with that is, while I understand the desire to do so, you got to be careful in the way you do it, because it becomes a matter of interpretation by the official, and both attacker and defender will take advantage of it. And then you've got to officiate a game that is already hard to officiate even faster. And I mean, do you bring VAR into the equation there? Like people are going to ruin nice things eventually. We just got to try, though.
But is it fair, if we're going to play the fair game, of somebody whose back is to goal and is not even trying to look for a shot or create a shot for somebody else, and they get clipped by a defender? Is it fair for that to be a penalty? No. Is there a way to fix that? It's going to be difficult. Thanks, Tafka, for stirring the pot this morning. Thanks, John Mueller, for the piece over at The Athletic UK. Also, there was another piece at The Athletic US, which dove into the behind the scenes of chief soccer officers around MLS, an anonymous poll. Nothing really came out that shocked me. And it honestly, a lot of love for Arthur Blank as an owner and everything that he gives to his team to have an opportunity to win. That was, again, not a surprise, but really cool to see other people around the league that are involved at this level acknowledge that. Anything about that survey, John, as you've had a chance to look at it, anything about that jump out to you as a surprise or just a reinforcement of anything?
Well, the one that I'm looking at right now is which team does the least with the most. And what they're looking at, Cincinnati.
Not shocking.
No. But then you look at number 4 being Atlanta United.
One person voted for it. Let's slow down.
And 2.
Okay, 2 out of 22 or whatever.
Right. And then you had the Galaxy second with 5 for team does the least with the most.
That's, in my opinion, a little unfair based off previous last couple of years. But, look, I mean, if you're going to spend the most, people are going to expect you just automatically should win everything. And in a lot of leagues that happens. You got to remember the way this league is structured. There is a ceiling that is kind of low on that. And Jarrett, we've talked about it a lot this week, I think, with roster construction and designated players and how all this looks. And that was maybe the thing that I'd like to read the most, was that a lot of these individuals who are making these decisions are saying, simplify the rules, give us more that we can do. Like, yes, have some guardrails, but less, and allow us to spread the money around a little bit more. But the idea of making the most or the least with the most, you can spend a lot on your 3 designated players, but everything else you are kind of limited, and 3 players don't make a team, as we found out. And the Galaxy know that, Atlanta know that. Miami tried to make 5 or 6 players into 3. That didn't work either.
Toronto knows that. Hell.
Toronto. Well, Toronto would probably argue against you, though, on that, Jarrett, because look at what they did in 2017, where they did win everything. And then they got to a CONCACAF final in 2018 with that group, where they did spend a lot, and it paid off. Now, as they got older and Giovinco left, then it wasn't the same. And that's a different conversation. They're going to test it again with what they're doing now.
Yeah, we'll see. It's a matter of, I don't know if they're gonna have enough depth to support that.
Oh no, I'm 100% with you. Yeah, no, I'm 100% with you. I don't think they have enough depth, because you can spend on those front 3, and this is what I'm saying. This is what it gets back to. You can be a team that spends and puts resources to your 3 plus U22s, if however many you can get, and you can spend your discretionary TAM. Even if you do all that to the max in the league, you're not guaranteeing you will win in this league because depth is important. You have to get something out of homegrowns, draft picks, guys at the back end of your roster, USL veterans, guys who you're going to develop in MLS Next Pro, guys like that will be called upon at some point because of the way this league goes. They have to be able to contribute. If you don't have that and you're top heavy, you better have every witch doctor and voodoo priestess you can find to make sure your team has no injuries and no problems.
Yeah, it's complicated and it's difficult. It's never a clear-cut thing. That was the Cincinnati one was an easy one though, just because of what they've spent. And the fact that, as I wrote about this week, and as we talked about the Discord, the wooden spoon is stained with chili right now.
I was very happy with that line myself.
If you've ever left a wooden spoon like in a red sauce and it comes out stained, like man, yes. you get that's kind of where you're at with Cincy. Granted, I do want Cincinnati to turn around though, because I think they showed in that US Open Cup run what that city can be with a fun team.
Yep.
And as much as we want to like make the jokes about the Skyline Chili and the wooden spoon, I want teams to have success, and I want everyone to elevate the league, elevate the sport. The thing that stuck out to me about that wasn't just, the fact that Atlanta was picked as, for ownership support. It's the comment of, like Atlanta's had some tough times, but they've received support, which is what I hope we will see from every club. Because if it doesn't work out at first, I hope that these ownerships will give their clubs support to say, hey, I realized last year wasn't great. Don't worry. We still have a budget. We're going to stick with this idea. We're going to see this through, and you have our full support. And I hope that happens everywhere. And it's not always going to be the case, which is disappointing, but I hope it happens more and more often to where if something doesn't go great, that's okay. We'll try again. My beloved Quakes, by the way, were absolutely
where I was going.
Yeah. Ownership hasn't spent money.
Which ownership group holds the sporting side of the club back the most? It is the San Jose Earthquakes, 5 votes out of the 21 execs, which, Matias Almeida might have asked people to vote on that one.
Considering his comments this week about HH going to Houston.
Yeah. Must be nice.
It's like, that the entire comment could be summed up to, gee, that must be nice. Wonder what that's like. Man, dude. Also, Shane Warne just passed away. Holy crap! So, Australian cricketer threw the ball. Shane Warne, he was a bowler, Australian cricketer. He threw the ball of the century against England in the Ashes. Imagine Greg Maddux as a cricket bowler. Instead of in an era where everybody was trying to bowl as fast as possible, dude went into the Ashes against England and just leg spun a ball like the way Greg Maddux would throw that circle change. Imagine that, but cricket. It's a big deal. In the cricket world, this is a huge deal. Anyway, I digress. Y'all, we can commiserate in the Discord on this one. But it's a matter of, I guess for me, of San Jose is going to be in a situation where you already have a manager, Matias Almeida, who is capable of getting a lot out of not very much. And what are you going to do next? Because if you're not going to spend money, you just brought in a coach who's good at taking a team that is middle to lower middle in the salary and overachieving with them in other countries. Who are you going to get to do this after him? I am nervous for you, San Jose.
And you're so stylistically locked in that you should get somebody who at least is a logical follow-up from Almeida, or you're going to set yourself back another year while you reset the way the team plays. And you might have to, because Almeida isn't an easy act to follow in terms of style, but you could go a few different directions and modify what they've been doing and potentially find some success, but you got to give them a little bit more to work with. Again, in this league, that's the whole idea about doing the least with the most. Cincinnati's in its own class with that. because they have spent and they've been awful. But you can spend a lot and it gives you more chances. It buys you more wild cards, essentially, but it doesn't guarantee you anything. And that's why a San Jose, a Colorado, some of these teams that don't spend as much can still find success if they do it the right way. They just don't have as many wild cards. They don't have as many opportunities to fix it or as many potential game changers as teams that are going to go spend on them. But you can still be successful in this league. And I think that is a credit to the way the league is structured and the way the league is. I think that's a good thing. And as one of the comments in this survey was, if you're not going to have promotion relegation, you have to have some version of parity. You have to have an opportunity for Colorado to do what they did last year. You have to have the opportunity going in that San Jose can get on a heater and run through the playoffs and shock everybody. You have to have those situations to give everybody hope. And I think that's better, in my opinion. The promotion relegation thing, we put that to the side for a minute because there's a business structure to that. That's a whole different conversation. But in terms of having parity in the league, I think it's a good thing. I don't think it's a negative. I do think they're going to have to take some of the shackles off of how you spend. Still have a cap and how much you spend, so teams can't just completely run away from everybody like we see in a lot of leagues around the world. But teams can at least choose to spend their money in some different ways and have a little more flexibility with that. Long topic. I'm sure we'll get to it again in an off season or in another crazy special episode. But a couple bits of news I wanted to touch on before you go, Jared, before Greg Garza joins us.
Okay.
Dallas has acquired Josué Quiñones, a defender from Barcelona in Guayaquil in Ecuador. Loan with a purchase option. They had to send $100,000 in allocation money to Portland, who had the player's discovery priority. Can we get rid of those, please? Those are stupid. If Dallas does the permanent transfer, they have to send another $150 to Portland for the discovery priority stupidity. Quiñones is 20, joined Barcelona's first team, came up to the academy, 11 first-team appearances across all competitions last year, 1 cap for Ecuador's senior national team as a friendly against Mexico last October. I know Mataflo is very sad. Another Ecuadorian comes into the league and not to Atlanta. Tom Bogert had a piece about good.
If you listen to soccer over there, you'd know that which Barcelona this was right away.
Yes, of course you would. Of course. Tom Bogert's piece on Charlotte at MLSsoccer.com. Go check it out. Kind of giving you the lay of the land as they get ready for a gigantic crowd on Saturday night at Bank of America Stadium. Couple of bits of news in there, though. Karl Swiderski is available for this week. He's back in training. Vinicius Melo still out with an injury. Daniel Rios ready to go from the start if needed. Miguel Angel Ramirez said, at least having a striker changes your game plan, because they didn't have one last week. And now I don't need another player not in his position. Having Rios 1 week more, we had time to sit down together and explain the game model and philosophy. So now we have 2 strikers. He talked about that game model, said it's complex. They've talked about it a lot. It's positional play. It's not purely what Gabriel Heinze did in the first half of last year with Atlanta. It's not purely what Pep Guardiola does in Barcelona, but it is positional play where there are a lot of rotations and complex things that you have to develop in training. Ramirez said, in preseason, we established basic positioning of play. In the first week, it was stressful. The movements, the patterns, decisions, now they're starting to do it like that. They're not panicking under pressure. Now, he did say, and Jared, last one before you go, he did say he was a little concerned about how they handle knowing what to do, what he wants them to do, but with 75,000 people screaming for them and all the emotions. That's a lot to balance as you're still very early in your franchise.
And this would be a question for guys like Greg, who have been in Mercedes-Benz when it's 70,000+, or anybody who's played in those big venues around the world about, managing while you're trying to kind of get your feet underneath you with, north of 70,000 people screaming for or against you. I'm sure it complicates things a bit. We're under this all the time with college athletes. We put a bunch of 18, 19-year-old kids out on the field with 100,000 drunk screaming lunatics.
It's tough. It's tough to follow the game plan sometimes in those situations. We'll get a little bit of insight on that on the other side. Jarrett, we'll see you at 10:30.
Yeah, and Jason Nix, yes, I do follow cricket. Also, we can discuss Pesapalo if you'd like to, which is basically a Finnish version of baseball. I can also coach you up on that.
You guys
I'll
take
be in
that
the Discord if you need
offline.
me.
Yeah, yeah. Enjoy that.
We'll be
All
in the
right,
Discord. See ya.
all right. Only one person can follow that quick intro music. It's Greg Garza. What's up, Greg?
How's it going, guys?
Good, good. Thanks for joining us this morning. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Anytime. I want to continue what we were just talking about with Charlotte before we get into Atlanta and Colorado. Miguel Angel Ramirez has talked about his frustration, I think, in the preseason of getting everybody he wants and being able to build what he wants to do. But he made a really good point. They're probably a little more, at least Ramirez, I think, would probably say it, that their game model is a little more complex than a lot of teams. So he's happy with where they are early on, but he's worried about how his players carry it out in this home opener with 75,000. For you guys going into the home opener in 2017, working in preseason under Tata, and then you get into a game with that much emotion, that much energy, that much chaos. How hard is it to remember all those things you work on and stay true to the game plan and the game model?
To be completely honest, Jason, we had absolutely no idea what to expect. And I think the guys from Charlotte are probably in the same boat. It's one of those things. It could have been a hit or miss game for us, that first game at Bobby Dodd. Yeah. Luckily, we just had a dream team. I think we didn't know what we had from the get-go. But I think you kind of look at it from other expansion teams and from other teams that come in, what their business model is, right? I think that's plays such an important role in creating that success for these MLS teams, right? You look at Cincinnati, for example. Their main objective from the get-go was to build the business first, right? To get the game plan of building the stadium, of getting the fans behind the team, and then hopefully that success will come afterwards, right? Unfortunately, it hasn't happened yet, but that's their ultimate in-game goal, right? Down the road. I think Atlanta United did it in a way to where they wanted all from the very beginning. They wanted that success. They wanted that business model to explode, in which it did with the people around in Atlanta. So you just have to kind of look at it. What is most important, and from the business model of that organization, I think plays a huge role.
So Greg, you mentioned not knowing what to expect. Take us into the tunnel as the team and all of you are walking out that first time, and then all of a sudden the noise obviously reverberates off of the tunnel as you're coming out, and then you come out and there's the noise and the crescendo and all of the people and all of the just the activity and the buzz around you. What was that procession like, and coming out and realizing, holy bleep, what's going on here?
It was unbelievable experience, I think, for all of us. As before I said, we had no idea what to expect. I think all of us, and even for myself, I had been in January camp that whole entire beginning of that preseason. I had came in just for the 3 games that we played, in South Carolina and Charleston. So I was only with the team for about a week and a half. So only person I knew was Tito, and he was on loan with us at Tijuana. I was still going through my recovery process in Club Tijuana, so I wasn't too close with Tito. So I mean, I think all of us looked at each other right before we started that game and just prayed for the best. We knew we were going against a really good New York Red Bull team that had specific set plays that had been together for a few years already, and here comes the new guys in town just hoping for the best. I think that's probably the mindset of a lot of these new expansion teams, especially with Charlotte, is coming in and just hoping that they can gel together as much as possible and continue to build their own legacy or whatever that may be this season. You're still getting to know each other. You're still building that camaraderie. You're still building those relationships, that chemistry on and off the field. And you kind of just hope for the best. And I think fortunate enough, we had that luck here in Atlanta. But there's so many other teams. I mean, you look at Minnesota the very first 2-3 years. There's another great example of just trying to build that luck that luck of chemistry that you can have around, and now they do finally have it, right? It can take a few years.
What's it going to take for Cincinnati? Do you think they're on the right path now with Albright and Noonan coming in? I mean, a bad opener, it's a game. It doesn't change everything that they've done, I think, to make positive steps. But, I'm sure Cincinnati fans are thinking, here we go again.
Most likely, that's probably the mindset of a lot of people within Cincinnati. You can give a great example of ourselves when we played Houston the first opening match in 2018. We ended up winning the Cup that season. But I think with Cincinnati, I think they're on the right path to hopefully now understanding, this next phase of getting the right players, right? Of building a team that can have some sort of success on the field. I think those two guys that you mentioned are great assets to that club, and hopefully they can help them figure it out as much as possible. We always talk about this with ex players or current players. What is the right buildup of the perfect team, right? How many core industrial American guys do you need on that team to just be fighters and guys that are going to put in tons of work on and off the field, whatever it may be, and then how many South Americans do you need on the team those guys can change a game in a second, or in whatever in a millisecond, those guys, and how many European mindset guys do you need on a team? So you kind of try and build this perfect right chemistry team, and I think Cincinnati is finally figuring it out to where, okay, these are the core group of guys that we need that will do all the hard work for us, right? That nobody really wants to do, and then they have a couple of players that can really change a game within a matter of seconds. So I think they're finally trying to figure out that perfect chemistry for their team. So I'm excited to see what happens with it. I wish them the best, right? It's been an unfortunate 3 years for them. So hopefully they can pick it up this next year.
There were a couple of results like the Cincinnati result in week 1. Vancouver loses by 4. LAFC puts 3 on the board with Colorado. Then, we talked about what was going on with Cincinnati. As a veteran in a locker room, when you have a result that goes the way that the Houston one did for Atlanta United, the ones that happened in week 1, how do you sit there and make sure that the attitude that happened in that first match, the result doesn't linger in your brain? How do you talk to the younger players and sit there and say, all right, that happened, you've got to get rid of it. You can learn from it, but you can't linger on it. How do veterans sit there in that situation to make sure that those results don't linger in your brain and have an effect that downstreams for a season?
Yeah, that's funny that you said that, because we actually have a talk with our mentees, the kids that we mentor as well, about this, right? Of understanding the peaks and the valleys, right? From the off, when you're dealing with the valley that's a really low, how do you keep that consistency? How do you turn that page? I think that's the most important phrase, is how do you turn that page as quickly as possible, and understand that whatever positives there were within that match, I think that's something, you look past, or you look back and you understand that the video session that we had. I used to hate to watch video after games, because it exploited all of the mistakes that or exposed all the mistakes that you had within that last match. But I remember specifically and very vividly the video session we had with Tata right after that match. And you talk about even the veterans being involved, and even just the coaching staff as well, especially after that game in Houston. And he showed us all positive moments within the Houston match, moments that we could have scored, moments that we were tight defensively. So I think it's just creating that positive mindset to help the team understand that, hey, there are still positives that we can choose from these terrible and devastating moments, and how do you build from that within that next week, right? We always say, Michael and I always say, if that negativity is there, and you continue to be negative, you're going to create that vicious cycle. Even when there is negativity, and you're trying to create some sort of positive feedback with each other, or feedback from the coaching staff, ultimately there is going to be a positive moment.
A lot of positives coming out of Atlanta's win over Kansas City. Biggest negative is Luis Araujo out for at least 4 weeks, hamstring early on. Problem with that is you're still getting Marcelino Moreno up to full fitness. You're getting Thiago Almada in here at some point when you get the visa sorted out with him. And, players are still dealing with this all over the league. Guys are just showing up. Alan Velasco showed up with Dallas this week. Coming into this trip in Colorado, you guys came out here in 2018. A lot of people have asked about altitude and the effects of it. What do you remember about that one or playing out here and just how it can affect a team early in a season, especially?
Not only the altitude, but the weather as well, right? I think
it's going to be weird.
Yeah. You never know what you're going to get. I know last week's game where they played with the CONCACAF, it was snowing, right? So
yeah,
you never know what you're going to get. I mean, it's not. I like to try and compare the altitude within Colorado, within Mexico, or the places that I've played in Mexico, and I don't know if it does compare, but altitude does play a huge factor and a huge role. I think these guys just have to be mentally prepared and understand. Both teams are playing with the same circumstances, the same situation. It's kind of the mindset and attitude you have to go towards entering that match. But I mean, honestly, even with the loss of Araujo, I think Dom came in, did an absolute fantastic job. Looked like he fit in with the team for the last couple of years, honestly. The way he gelled with Joseph, and that's something that I say every year is, gosh, Joseph continuously has to adapt to all these different players that they put around him. So that was actually great to see. And we had a solid. I was at the game and we had a solid match. It was a solid game. I mean, and all around, right? In every single position, everybody won their battles, everybody won their duels. That's something that you want to see from the get-go. And I think Pineda, I think Gonzalo has done a really good job in creating that positive mindset within all those guys and understanding. I think you look at different mentalities. I think that Mexican mentality that Gonzalo has is helping everyone understand on that roster that there is a way that they can contribute. Right. I think the best coaches that I had within my career were the ones that, if Dom has to come in 27th minute, or if other guys have to come in that aren't starting, what are the best traits and assets they can bring to the table, and you really saw that in the subs that were made, and just all around solid performance from every single guy on that field.
I was going to ask who else specifically shown to you. I know that at the back we looked at guys like Andrew Gutman this week. We've talked about George Campbell this week and Miles and him being solid, and Ronald Hernandez and the guys like Ozzy Alonso. Who stood out to you also this week, other than mentioning Dom up top? Let's give some love to the guys at the back. Who was there at the back for you this past week?
Man, I'm gonna have to go with Andrew. Andrew played. I mean, MOTM. He was the man of the match. I think he did amazing. It's a great start for him to come into a different atmosphere. Probably one that he's not very used to. But to play in that environment is a special one, and the crowd was behind him majorly. I think George Campbell also had a really good match. Just very tight defensively. I think you look back and for me, it's really interesting to see how these young players come out of their shells, right? I can tell you the first time George Campbell trained with the first team with us, and just the nervousness and understanding how to build out from the back, and the sometimes not the sloppy touches, but just touches that you say, okay, hopefully this will continuously get better. And then you see him now, and you understand, gosh, this guy has really put in the work to really build that composure and play so comfortably. There were moments to where, I think even in the first half, to where we were building out from the back, and it was almost, it took me back to Bobby Dodd sometimes. I think we were playing NYFC, and you just heard the crowd just in awe, right? Because we were playing out of the back. Brad was probably dribbling across the goal line, and we still got out of it. And that happened a couple of times within the last game against Kansas City, to where there are moments to where you say, oh man, if we lose the ball right here, this is going to be an absolute disaster. But we just kept continuously doing it and continuously playing out of the back. That was special to see, and that brought back a lot of memories for me, for sure. And just seeing a solid performance from the back line offensively as well.
What do you think about all of these academy guys that are busting through right now? Wiley with the goal late, Campbell, Tyler Wolf. The twos are going to be filled with academy guys this year. You and Michael get a chance to talk to some of these guys in the academy with Beyond Goals, but it feels like after being able with Tony Annan first and now Matt Lowry and all the different coaches that are involved, it feels like you're developing professional players now through Atlanta's academy. It just takes a little bit of time to get there.
Majorly, I think that mindset. You look at Caleb Wiley's speech on social media after the game, and just the amount of respect that he has for everyone else, right? I think that's the most important factor right there, is helping these kids understand that they come in, they have to know that responsibility of putting their head down and having the willingness and want to learn each and every day around the guys that have been there and have had that success. That is the most important advice that I can give any rookie, is just to come in, put your head down, work as hard as you can, work your tail off, and it'll ultimately pay off, right? It'll pay off with that hard work and understanding your role, right? Understanding how important your role can be and how you can continue to contribute. I think Caleb did that within the game, and you get that opportunity, and it's an opportunity of a lifetime. And now hopefully he can continue to build from that. You see these guys coming in with the right mindset, the right mentality, and understanding their responsibilities is so important. And hopefully, there's older guys on that team can really take them under their wing and help them understand, okay, these are the right. Now that that's happened, right? And then it can be a life-changing experience even for Caleb, but still how to keep that consistency and understand, okay, there's still a lot of room to grow. There's still a lot to build off from that, but you can kind of see it within their personalities, within Tyler's personality as well, and within George's personality as well, that these guys understand their responsibilities, and they take them, so they hold themselves accountable within those responsibilities as well.
I was going to ask you, Greg, when it comes to the maturity of the younger player, are you seeing more maturation earlier in younger players than you have in the past? How is that being gauged these days? Obviously older players are putting their arms around younger players, but you're seeing, like we saw with Caleb, that understanding already, and you're not even 18 years old, about what's going on around you. Are players maturing sooner than they have in the past?
I think the game is consistently changing, right? It's constantly changing. So you have these kids. I think it's so new for the United States you have kids that we talk to that are 14, 15 years old that are already talking with agents, right? So I think just in the sense of how the game is growing, these kids already have a certain amount of value from a very young age. And I think they understand, okay, this is real, right? Whereas I think in other countries, the European countries and South American countries, these kids are 8 years old or 9 years old, and they're already automatically being bred into, that mindset that they are worth something. And I think that is finally making it over to the US. I would say the only setback with that is these young kids that are just putting immense amount of pressure on themselves, right? You have these kids that are 13, that are 14, that are getting talks with agents, that are having these opportunities to, sign professional contracts. You have the Maxi kid with NYFC, right? What is this kid's mindset? He's 14 years old. I actually watched that. I scouted him with MLS Next last year in Dallas. So I mean, and he was 13 years old. So it's crazy to see the amounts of pressure that is put on these kids from a very young age. And I think that's where you have to take that holistic approach as a club, and really understand how to breed these individuals, not only on the pitch, but on the humanity side as well, right? How do you create leaders? How do you create these kids to understand the responsibilities and still mature, but also not take that kid out of them as well. And it's a fine line. It's a fine line to deal with, right? I think these clubs in the States are finally understanding that there is immense amount of talents within the whole entire country. I think in the future we'll see even younger kids now, making moves and going different places. I think the homegrown right now is really, it's opened the floodgates, right, for so many different opportunities for these kids to have an opportunity of a lifetime, and it's great to see the maturity level, but at the same time, how do we deal with them coping with that pressure?
Yeah, I want to tie this into what you and Michael are doing with Beyond Goals, because I think it's such an interesting time with soccer in this country, to where you've got professional academies like we've never seen before. And in the past, it was clubs developing kids to go to college, and really not developing them to play professionally. And that would happen later. Okay. Now that's happening at 14, 15, 16. You've got more places for kids to play. I mean, just in the Southeast, you've got professional clubs in Statesboro, Georgia, and Greenville and Chattanooga. You got 2 professional clubs, Birmingham, Memphis, Nashville. I mean, Charlotte. There's so many. There's places these kids can make a living in the game, but you mentioned the pressure, and I think a lot of people have seen the horrible news with Katie Meyer at Stanford this week. It is a balancing act, and I feel like it's vital for what you guys are doing with Beyond Goals, but also for clubs to figure out whether it's partnering with people like you or having it internal. You can give these kids an opportunity to make a living in the sport that they love, but it can also be incredibly difficult for them if they don't have the other tools needed to get
there. I always say, whenever you're so young and you are put within professional sports and you have that opportunity of a lifetime, it takes a special person. It takes a special person to understand the responsibilities and everything that comes behind it. And I think that's kind of with our project is understanding those difficulties that some of these kids are faced with, right? I can look back at my career and say, gosh, when I was 15, 16, or when I signed my first professional contract, there were probably 5 or 10 other guys that were more talented than I was, right? But why? Because the main question is why did they not make it, right? What was their structure? What was their family structure? What was their life? What major decisions did they make? What wrong decisions did they make? What do's and don'ts did they end up doing correctly or incorrectly? So there's a lot of, like you said, there's a lot of different factors that play a huge role in creating your own success. And then my major point is with a lot of these young kids that do have that opportunity is helping them understand that it's not about making it. It's about how long can you make it last, right? My mentor that I had, and it's the greatest example that I can give is whenever I had the opportunity to sign professionally, he always told me to sit down at the table where the oldest guys sat, right? Don't sit down with the other guys that are 16, 17, even though you might have the greatest relationship with them, but sit down with the guys that are 35, 36, 37. And why did he did that? Because those guys had the most experience. They were getting ready for the next phase within their lives. They were the ones to tell you the ins and outs on how they were able to play, and create that stability for themselves, whether it be financially, whether it be within the professionalism of what soccer or sports was at such a high level for a very long time. And that's where you gain those leadership qualities. That's where you gain that experience and continue to pass it down. And I think that's truly what Michael and I want to do, is help these kids understand that if that door of opportunity is there, these are the things that we did. These are the things that we learned from other great professionals that they did. And that created that consistency for them, right? That created the consistency for us and making it long lasting and having a longevity of a career, right? So it's for us, it's so important for these kids to understand that, right, at the end of the day, what are the most important life skills, life hacks that we can teach them? But if that door of opportunity is there within the soccer world, these are the right steps, these are the right tools to use.
But how difficult is it, Greg, for that 14, 15-year-old to sit down with that 35-year-old? Because there's obviously that level of intimidation that's there because they're the senior person. How do you break through? How do you have the wherewithal to break through and have that first sit down? Because obviously that's a very intimidating thing to sit there and say, hey, can I sit down and learn from you? It takes a very special person on both ends to make that first sit down happen.
I think that is the holistic approach that clubs need to take, especially within the league, is having these moments to where older players are taking younger players under their wing, right? Helping them understand, like we've talked about, the responsibilities and the ways to hold yourself accountable, and vice versa. I think having a big brother companionship. And I mean, we talk about our Beyond Goals mentoring and coming into these clubs and allowing these open book relationships, these open book conversations to happen with these young kids so they can ask absolutely anything, right? You talk about that professionalism of what it may be. You have these kids that step into a new role when they're 15, 16 years old, and they step into a new environment, and they're single kids, right? They might start living on their own if they're 17, 18 years old, and they're finishing up at 2 p.m. and they have the rest of the day and they don't know what to do with themselves, right? So it's what tips and advice can you give? It can be a hard life to live, right? Going home at 2 and having the rest of the day and understanding you got to do this again, the next day, and at the highest, and whatever you do within that day affects how you're going to perform that next day, right? So it's whether it's nutrition standpoint or personal planning or just creating tasks for yourselves. There are many different things that can be used, but like you said, John, it's really bridging that gap of helping these kids understand that they do have older guys. And every team has them. Every team has older guys that are such great pros, that are such great people on and off the field as well. So how do you implement their qualities as people to help these younger kids understand the values and the responsibilities of what it takes to make a long lasting career out of being a pro.
I just really love what you guys are doing, Greg, and I love that we can have this conversation every week with you and Michael and dig into this stuff, because it's a huge opportunity now that when I was a kid growing up, there was no professional game. I didn't have any of that to aspire to. These kids do, but there's challenges that come along with it that I think maybe we in the soccer community are catching up to that and starting to understand that, hey, the coaching is important, the facilities are important, the games are important, but we've got to do these other things too, so these kids can be successful on and off the field. And what you guys are doing, I think it's setting a template for hopefully a lot of other people around the country. So thank you for what you're doing.
No, thank you. Thank you for saying that. We love what you do. We are super passionate about it. I think, at the end of the day, you want to see every single one of these kids flourish. And I think it's really hard. It's been hard for us to see a lot of these kids with such God-given talent. I think the worst thing that anybody in life could want is being 30, 35 years old and looking back and saying, man, I regret making a certain decision, or I regret, having regrets in life can be the worst thing possible, right? To the human mind. So it's really helping these kids understand, hey, if that door of opportunity is there, what steps can you take to make it the most successful one?
Yeah. Last one for you, Greg. Coming back to Colorado and the game tomorrow, you had a chance to see the team last weekend. What is it that you think is most important for them in this situation with conditions, altitude affecting it? Probably a Colorado team that's going to be a little more, I would think maybe a little more defensive to get things going in the right path for them. That feels like it's something that Robin Fraser would do. What do you think is important for Atlanta to accomplish tomorrow to get the win?
I think one thing that stood out to me from the last game was just the blocks in every single phase of what the game was, from the final third to the defensive third to the middle third. Just keeping those blocks as tight as possible. But I say that, and the game was pretty open against Kansas City, right? Every time I think we have played Colorado, it has been Colorado has sat back and just waited, right? I think every single game that we have played against Colorado has been like that the past few years. So gosh, it's a hard one, to break those certain lines. Speed of play will be super important. But I think, the guys up front probably, I would say the most important thing is just to help the guys up front not get frustrated with not getting the ball at times. I believe there will be moments to where the back four, the middle three are definitely going to have to swing the ball from side to side to try and open up those gaps within those conditions, right? And then also have the I think the level head of understanding that, there's going to be moments to where you have to just deal with that patience, right? And as long as you can have Joseph continue to making those runs and Tyler coming in, if it's Dom or whoever it is on the other side, I think just to have that patience and understand that there's going to be probably very few moments to get something on the board, but those will be the critical ones to take advantage of.
Greg, thank you for the time this morning. Appreciate it. We'll talk to
thank you guys.
and Michael again next week. And again, thanks for everything you're doing. Make sure everybody knows where they can follow you. It's Beyond Goals Mentoring on Instagram and BG Mentoring on Twitter, correct?
Yep, you got it.
Cool. All right. I'm remembering things this morning. Good.
There you go. Thank you guys.
Thanks, Greg. Appreciate it.
Take care.
Greg Garza. Make sure you're following him on Instagram, GM Garza as well. John, I don't have music for you, but you are going to have to tell the people a cappella about our good friends Eliminize.
We'll certainly do that. Best way to get odor-free, clean, fresh air is through Eliminize service. QR code over my left shoulder for those of you watching on Twitch. Deodorizing enclosed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos, they've created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors, including those like pet, cigarettes, and food. Realtors and property managers use Eliminize service to eliminate bad odors to help them sell or rent homes that much faster. It's a turnkey process that makes it easy to work with realtors and property managers. Kind to the environment, very important these days, offering a green way to get rid of odors without any kind of toxic residue. Different than the masking agents that we have in our homes that just mask the odor. They don't attack the issue. Eliminize does that down to the molecule. It's a proven scientific formula that does exactly that. Pricing, one of two ways, either by the cubic foot or by parts per million, to come up with a price that's affordable for you. Offering results in 24 hours or less. If you have questions, frequently asked or otherwise, go to their website, eliminize.com, but do us a favor. Go /Atlanta after the website, and you do the .com, so they know what part of the world that you are addressing them from. ELIMINIZE.com /Atlanta. Eliminize service for odor-free, clean, fresh air. Eliminize service, proud sponsors of everything SDH.
Welcome in, Mike Conti from just down the hall here in Denver. What's up?
Literally next door. I could pound on the wall right now and you would hear it.
People might get confused.
No. Let me ask you something. Are you, we've done games in Denver before. We've done games in Salt Lake before. Are you feeling any kind of altitude stuff today?
Yeah, a little bit.
Me too. I don't know what's going on.
I did before, though. I mean, where I feel it is in my throat a little bit, and I feel it in my chest, just breathing, not catastrophically. I'm also not going to be running or anything. So, I definitely feel it just sitting here talking and doing a show.
Me too. It's the weirdest thing. I usually don't have a problem with it, but I don't have throat or chest. It's more of just kind of in my head a little bit, like my brain. Maybe it's brain fog. Maybe I didn't get enough sleep. But honestly, where we went to have dinner last night, I thought it was really good. And now I'm not sure if it either was the dinner we had last night or if I have altitude poisoning. But it's very, very weird. I mean, I'm good. I'm talking to you guys. I'll be fine.
So what'd you have for dinner, Mike?
What was it? Like a teriyaki salmon type deal?
Yeah,
with
you went
Brussels
teriyaki
sprouts.
salmon. I had carne asada.
It was delicious. It was really good. I don't
great.
think I got food poisoning. I think it's just being at 5,200 feet, but really strange. I've never really had that problem before.
Yeah, Wiley Coyote on the Twitch pitch says it's easy to get dehydrated at altitude, which is absolutely true. I've been trying to hydrate.
Yeah, and I'm hydrating with Coke Zero, so I don't really understand how that could happen.
There you go, brother.
I'm hydrating with Red Bull, but I do have my water right here.
Right.
Well. So,
it's all good. We'll be fine. Actually, now, kind of glad we came out a day early to acclimate to this. So, someone on the Twitch pitch said a front's coming in, and that is absolutely true. In fact, I'm looking out the window right now. You can definitely see the weather's about to change, so it might be that as well.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff going on. Bernd was asking how you felt about the Hawks win last night. You were pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I was pumped. I thought when Chicago went on that big run in the third quarter, that it was like a here we go again situation, like the Hawks. They've thrown their best punch at Chicago and they've blown another lead, and they're not going to be able to come back from this, especially with Trey playing on the bum ankle. That's a big, big win. And tonight is really a huge game, because if there's going to be a team that's going to knock the Hawks out of the postseason, it's going to be the Washington Wizards. I don't think the Knicks are going to make it. And then obviously Indiana, Orlando, and Detroit, they're kind of dismantling right now. So the Wizards are the team. This game is in Washington. If the Hawks win this game tonight, then they go to 2.5 games clear of Washington with 19 to go.
Yeah,
which is really, really big. They could also move back into 9th with a win tonight. I don't know if Charlotte's playing tonight. They could actually, they can't go to, well, could they go to 8th? I'm looking at that. I think Brooklyn with one more win.
Yeah, Brooklyn's 32 wins or 30.
Yeah, so, but I mean, they're basically right there. And I think 8th is going to be the goal. They win tonight, they take a big step towards that. But the thing is, like to Burns' point, if the Hawks had lost that game last night, you'd be only a half game ahead of Washington for the final play-in spot, playing in their building tonight. You'd run the risk of tumbling out. So just from that respect alone, it was a very big win.
When you look at 7 through 10, I mean, realistically, with 19 to go, how far do you think they can go up the ladder here?
8th. I don't think they can catch Toronto. Toronto is 6 games over 500. Toronto would really have to collapse because they as well have only 20 games left. So I think 8th is the limit. 8th would be good though. If you get 8th, you have a little margin for error if you were to lose your first play-in game. That's probably the best you can do. If you're 9th, you host a play-in game, but if you lose, you're out. If you're 8th, you're on the road in a play-in game, but if you lose, you get to host a subsequent play-in game to get in. So I think that's as good as they can do.
I hope MLS doesn't have any kind of a crazy playoff format like that one, because that's a little complicated for me.
Well, they did this basically to recoup some TV revenue from the pandemic.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, look, expanded postseason is just going to be kind of the name of the game. Like baseball might go to 14 teams in this new CBA.
Absurd.
The NFL
baseball's absurd.
Yeah, the NFL has gone to 14. Like, I'm sorry, I want it to be an achievement to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
So
there's a balancing act. I mean, there's a way to find it, and I'm still, I think you can make the playoffs more meaningful in MLS by having 2 legs in series.
Yes.
I think that's maybe the trade-off. If you want to have a play-in round with a single game, as they did in the past, fine. But more playoff games, at least in MLS, they can accomplish that in a different way, and I think a better way. We'll see.
Right.
Well, since Charles Barkley gave his soccer opinions last night, we had to give a little bit of basketball opinion. So,
what did he say?
Oh, well, they presented the U.S. national team jerseys on set since Turner is now a partner with the U.S. Soccer Federation. And Barkley pointed out that his was the women's jersey because the men suck.
Well,
he said that a few times. And
yeah, that's Chuck being Chuck.
Exactly. But here's what I'll say about it, and then we'll move on to Atlanta, Colorado, more important things. Because I've seen the discussion in the Twitch pitch this morning about it. There's a bunch of layers here. Turner is a partner of the U.S. Soccer Federation now, and it's not exactly good for one of their highest profile people to say that part of the deal, one of the teams sucks.
Yeah.
That's not good. And it's not accurate either. The men's game and the women's game are completely different in terms of where the U.S. is and where the U.S. should be expected to be. To expect the U.S. men to be as dominant as the U.S. women are is a very ignorant take, because you don't know the game. Because look at how many countries are competitive on the women's side. Look at how many are on the men's side. Look at really who has invested the most on the women's side, and look at who invests more on the men's side than the U.S., because the game is still growing here. It was invested in on the women's side in a way that is not comparable to how the men are invested versus other games, other leagues, other countries, all of that. The U.S. do not suck. That is over the top statement. I get it. I know the game. I know what he's doing. I understand it. It's for effect. I know. But when that's accepted as, oh yeah, that's fine. That's good. That's what it is. They suck. That's not good for how people are going to feel about the men's national team and look at it, where they are one of the top teams in CONCACAF and they are a top 20 team in the world. It's a different comparison between the men's and the women's game. To expect the men to be at the same level as the women are is completely and utterly unfair. And that's my issue with it. And that's where we oversimplify things and it's, well, the women win everything and the men don't, so the men suck and the women are great. That's not a fair comparison. That's like saying that if when Georgia Southern was winning the 1AA championships, because they had more investment and more resources than a lot of the teams at that level, that Georgia Tech sucked, but Southern was good. Actually, that was when Georgia Tech was pretty good. Georgia would have sucked at that point compared to Georgia Southern. Anyway, it's two different worlds. You can't compare them like that. And it's just frustrating because this is the kind of stuff that, honestly, I was a little worried about with this kind of a deal. And I hope that the game is not diminished by the way it's treated with new partners. That's always my fear. This wasn't what I wanted to see. It was a funny segment. Now I hope the Federation and Turner follow up on it because they can. Now the door's open. Get Clint Dempsey on to talk with Charles Barkley. Have them go back and forth about who sucks.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in with that.
Yes.
But you got to follow up on it. You can't just let that linger out there.
Well, then again, you're talking about soccer on Inside the NBA. Even if it's an ill-informed opinion, even if it's incorrect, it's okay. At least there's some kind of dialogue about soccer, and it's not what's soccer or what's this or I don't give a what about soccer or anything like that.
Well, frankly, Mike, I mean, I wouldn't have wanted that, but if this was the conversation, I would have rather they not did it.
Yeah,
and that's. I know what they're doing, and I know Chuck, and I love Chuck and what he does. He is as good as it gets for his kind of a role, and it's amazing. I love his work. This was disappointing to me because there are people who don't know the game who maybe will not watch the U.S. men now because they suck, and they don't.
I hope not. I hope that's not the case.
I hope they follow up on it and have fun with it. That's what they need to do.
Yeah.
That's where they need to go now. Like U.S. soccer, look, I try not to get in my feelings about stuff like this as somebody who's played and been in the game, for my whole life and have dealt with this kind of stuff being said to me personally and about the game that I love. I try not to get in my feelings about it. You've got to look for the opportunity. The opportunity now is to play off of this and educate Chuck in a fun way.
Yeah. And
you've got personalities who can do it and really have a good time with it and get him on board. That's how you play it now. And I hope they do.
Yeah, no, I do too. Look, the one thing I can tell you about Turner is they really go all in on the way they produce their live sports shows.
They do. This won't be like the Champions League. This will not be like how they did.
Really, the Champions League, you're very restricted on what UEFA allows you to do.
Right.
With the Champions League. Turner didn't really get any opportunity to customize what they did with their Champions League broadcast other than the studio show, which, by the way, was not up to standard. I agree with you.
No, it was not.
But
no.
UEFA doesn't allow you to change anything about the way the game is presented, the actual match itself. With this U.S. men's national team package, Turner will be producing the home games and women's too. They will be producing the home games. It'll be Turner announcers. It'll be Turner cameras. It'll be Turner truck. It'll be everything. Unless they decide to sub that out to someone. And even if they do, it will still be held to the Turner standard. So I don't want anyone to be concerned about this. When Turner had the WUSA, I know that was 20 some years ago. That feels like a long time ago, but Turner used a lot of NBA production people on those WUSA broadcasts, and they hired JP.
Yep.
And they had Craig Sager doing sideline. They went all in on it. They did it. And unfortunately, they did not get the return on their investment in terms of what they hoped for in ratings.
Right.
But they did a quality job producing it. I can also tell you, just because I've talked to some of these people at NBA broadcast meetings, there are a few very high up people at Turner who are big Atlanta United fans.
100%.
So believe me, there's going to be a commitment on the part of Turner to doing it the right way. And the other thing too, like, again, what Charles Barkley said last night, notwithstanding, I do think there is value being in a pond with fewer fish.
100%. Absolutely.
And what Turner has, they have some big properties, obviously. They have the NBA, they have the NCAA tournament, and they have the National Hockey League now.
Yeah.
There's less clutter. You're not going to have to worry about USA Mexico being on ESPN2.
Right.
Okay? I mean, now granted, sounds like they're only going to be friendlies in the run-up to the next World Cup. I don't know if there's been like an official declaration of whether or not U.S., Canada, Mexico have to go through qualifying, but
they won't. They might play competitive games, but it won't affect qualifying.
Right.
Qatar did that this time around,
right.
But Turner does have it through the following cycle.
Exactly. So, instead of USA Mexico being thrown on ESPN2 at 9 p.m. because there's an NBA game, which, by the way, just so happened to be a Hawks game this year. Coincidentally. now it gets the night on TBS or TNT with no competition.
Yeah.
Again, I think this is a really, really good thing for U.S. soccer, considering the other options that were on the table, because we know that ESPN and Fox were out. Paramount would have been in there. Do you think they're going to put a USA Costa Rica qualifying match on a Wednesday night on CBS? In prime time? I don't think so.
No.
I could be wrong, but I don't think so. With NBC Peacock, kind of same thing. Those matches are going to go on USA Network or CNBC or something like that. So, look, I really think Charles was trying to have fun last night.
I do
what
too.
He does.
I do.
I think it probably came off the wrong way.
It did.
But I really, honestly, I'll just come right out and say it. I think MLS will end up back with all of its existing TV partners the way that Garber has made it sound. But if Turner got in there for Major League Soccer, I think it would be a huge, huge boost for the league. In the same way that it's been great for the National Hockey League.
Now, I know where you're basing it off of what Garber said, but there's been a lot of reporting that Fox is not bidding for it. They might be a partner of somebody bidding. But Fox is getting out of
they're into the
league
event,
business.
they're into the event business instead of the league business.
They're doing more of the events. That one could be the opening for it. Could be Paramount. It could be NBC. It could be Turner. But Turner's been mentioned a lot with it.
Yeah.
At least sounds like they've been aggressive about trying to get it. And if you get that and the Federation's properties, as ESPN and Fox have had, but you get into the smaller pond a little bit, and they can do more stuff around it. It is really, really interesting. They'll be fine. They'll be fine. And that's the biggest thing that I wanted to say about it before we move on is it was frustrating to see because it brought back bad memories of the way the game's been talked about at times. It is an ignorant take because you're not comparing apples to oranges when you're comparing it.
Yeah.
But it does open a door to have some fun down the road in terms of how you talk about this and getting Barkley, such a huge personality, involved and winning him over and getting him to back it and be involved in it. There's a lot of potential here. So it's a door opening. I think maybe it did come off a little more mean-spirited than was intended.
Yeah.
It'll be fine. It'll be fine in the long run. They've committed for a long time to do this the right way. They're not going to, have this be the general tone. It's not going to happen that way. Let's get into Atlanta, Colorado, Mike. The more that I keep looking at this thing, Colorado, 1 goal in 3 games so far, including CONCACAF Champions League. They've never scored against Atlanta United. They don't really have a dedicated number 9 that scares you. I wonder if Robin Fraser, and the conditions could play a factor in this too. I wonder if Robin Fraser takes his 5-3-2 or 3-5-2, depending on how you want to look at it. Maybe it plays a little more like a 5-3-2 or a 5-4-1 here, and they play to be very difficult to break down, and they play to break out on the counter when Atlanta gets numbers forward. Atlanta might have a tough time tomorrow.
Yeah. I mean, I just have some memories of like 2019, the Atlanta-Colorado match, which I think Atlanta won 1-0.
Anthony Hudson's last game with the Rapids.
Well,
he threw everybody under the bus.
He killed his team for executing his tactics.
He did. And since then, since he left, since that day, Colorado has been the 5th best team in MLS since that day.
Wow, interesting. But I have memories of Colorado putting 10 guys behind the ball and just bunkering and making it a really kind of ugly day. Now, that tactic has never worked to produce a win against Atlanta United, as you've pointed out, Jason, in their history. Couple 1-0 wins for Atlanta in Atlanta, and then a 3-0 win here in Denver in 2018, where it really all the goals came in the first 20 minutes, if I remember correctly. I mean, Atlanta kind of blitzed them right off the kickoff, and 20 minutes into the match, it's pretty much over.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, look, and we talked about this a little bit last night, Jason. If you're Robin Fraser right now, you're just trying to get something positive. It's not been a good first month of competition for them. They did not look good in CONCACAF. They really did not look good against LAFC. Tough match on the road to open up with, to be fair. You're probably looking at this as an opportunity to, hey, let's just do what we can and get something positive, and let's let the conditions play in our favor. And the conditions are going to be a big story tomorrow. It sounds like it is going to snow before the match, not during, but before. The temperatures will be in the low 30s. The wind chill will be in the mid 20s. That's not awful, but I mean, that's not terrible. I've called matches and worse than that, but it's going to be cold. And what I really wonder is, what will the condition of the pitch be if it has taken an inch of snow during the day?
It'll be fine. I think that's one good thing. And we've seen enough games out here. The CONCACAF game against Comunicaciones, I think, was a little different because it was much colder for longer. So it might have been like the actual surface might have been a little choppier because of that. Then the snow on top of it during the game. This will be early. Even Snow Classico, the actual surface, when you could see it, was okay. The snow came on top of it. I think if the snow is all early, it'll be okay. It might be a little slick, might be a little wet.
Yeah.
But I don't think it will be unplayable by any stretch.
Yeah, and I think part of it, too, will depend. Will they have it covered? Will they leave it uncovered? And a lot of it, one of the kind of dynamics to all of this is it's not supposed to be like straight snow tomorrow. It's supposed to be a rain-snow mix, which could, again, make things messier than – it's going to be messy. Yeah. Okay, I mean, I think there's no doubt about it. It's going to be messy. The thing, though, I like about Atlanta United and what they showed last week against Sporting Kansas City is if it becomes a messy type of match where sustaining possession becomes difficult because of the field conditions, Atlanta United has shown the ability to just be able to strike quickly on counters and in transition. So if it became that type of match and the pitch wasn't so slick that guys couldn't get the engine running, that might even play into a slight advantage for Atlanta United. But I think you guys are right. I think Colorado probably puts a lot of players behind the ball. They probably concede possession. It was a 50-50 possession game against LAFC last Saturday. I think they probably concede a little bit of possession. And they just try to get out of this with some kind of result and try to kickstart their season in a meaningful way. They're a lot like Atlanta United. 3 of their next 4 matches are at home. Their road match is at Houston, which is not daunting by any stretch. So again, they might be feeling like, okay, we got through CONCACAF. We got through a road match at LAFC. We're going to be home mostly for the next month. Let's look at this maybe as our launch point and just try to get something out of these next 90 minutes.
So then who for you, Mike, is key for Atlanta United in this match that could be messy, could be adventurous, could have a lot of other intangibles in Category 5 if we're like the old NFL today going at it. But who's key for you in this match?
Osvaldo Alonso, who has a lot of experience.
Where my head was.
Who, by the way, has a lot of experience playing in conditions like this. I think Osvaldo Alonso kind of holds the keys for all of this tomorrow. And this feels like a kind of match where if he's going to get stuck into some tackles, and he's going to be a little bit of a bowling ball, this is that type of match. But he could also be the hub of creation in the same way. These are the types of matches where a guy with a lot of MLS experience dealing with the quirks of this league comes in handy. And to me, that's Osvaldo Alonso.
Yeah, I think he becomes critical. I think he drives the team forward. I think he's the one who's going to, when Colorado has the ball, which I'm not expecting will be large moments of it, and I don't think it's as simple as Atlanta should sit back and play on the counter, because I think it might be a staring contest if that's the way this game goes. When the ball turns over, and Atlanta can be a little aggressive, and it's something that we talked about in the second half of Birmingham, Mike, where, in the first half in Birmingham, it felt like Atlanta was a little reluctant to take risks in the attacking half. They were keeping it very simple. In the second half, they turned the ball over a little bit more in those moments, but they won it back in dangerous moments. I think tomorrow could be that kind of a game where if Colorado is going to sit back a little bit more, say you pen them back and they're in their line of 5, Atlanta has to be risky at times in the attacking half and bet on their counter press to win the ball back in those turnover moments. Because if they don't, and they just keep it simple, then you're cycling, and you do have to have patience, and you do have to do this from time to time. Try to move side to side, try to open up gaps, try to hit those channels. But at times, take a chance, try a riskier pass, it turns over, then try to win the ball back in a dangerous spot really quick. I think Atlanta has to bet on all the work they've put in their counter pressing to regain possession in dangerous spots.
Great point. It's a really, really great point. I think what they showed on Sunday is that they're capable of doing that.
Yeah.
So I think Atlanta should have a lot of confidence going into this match tomorrow.
Yeah.
A lot of confidence. And look, I also think you're kind of playing with house money a little bit. This is kind of a low-pressure situation. It's only the second match of the year. It's their only road match for the next month, literally. You're a little shorthanded. You're going to try to do the best with what you've got. You get out of here with a point. It's a good point. You get out here with 3. You've done really great work, and now you have some money in the bank as far as, netting some road points. You come out of here with nothing, and still love your chances of getting out of March with 9 points, 3-1-0. So, you never want to downplay the significance of any match. A match in March counts just the same as a match in October. But I think it's kind of a low-pressure situation. I think Atlanta United will play very, very loose. Jason, we were around the team last night. This feels like a really loose group to me. Really, really loose. Not so loose that it's disorganized. I don't mean that, but just very, very calm, cool, and confident.
Joseph posted a picture or video on his Instagram, and I don't know what game these guys are playing right now, but whatever game it is, it reminds me of the Hawks used to play Uno on road trips. Yep. They got big time into Uno. This is some game on a tablet, and man, they're getting into this thing. So that kind of stuff, it sounds silly. It sounds like nothing. When you have some new faces in the group, like Ozzy, like Dom, like some of the kids, when you have those kinds of bonding things that happen, it does go a long way in these kinds of games where it is going to be tough. It is going to be nasty. It is going to be cold. You might have sleep blowing in your eyes. You are going to struggle to breathe at times. That fun stuff and togetherness that comes out from these kinds of moments is really big.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, remember how everything felt back in 2018 after Atlanta United got that wild, kind of crazy park the bus win in Minnesota. Really, really launched them into a huge month of April. Gave them a lot of confidence, really galvanized the team.
I don't want a first half red card from somebody, though, Mike. I don't want that tomorrow.
No. I don't predict that either.
I don't need that stress.
But no, like when you go through something a little different, a little difficult, it can be very, very galvanizing, and it could absolutely be that kind of match tomorrow. It's not going to be easy. I mean, I think Colorado is going to make it really, really difficult to have a fun day tomorrow. Colorado, the team, and Colorado, the
geography,
the topography. So, look, we'll see what happens. I think, again, just, try not to overreact to anything in the same way that I'd say try not to overreact to what happened.
On Monday, Mike.
I know, but
no, don't overreact. Period. Let's stop the overreacting.
Yeah,
it's so stupid.
Well, because honestly, I think there was overreaction to the SKC match.
There was.
I think there was overreaction. I think there was misinterpretation. And again, when you're this early in the season, it's very easy to do that. So that's. No one's wrong for feeling that way.
Yeah, just don't overreact in general. It's a good lesson in life. Don't overreact. All right, Mike, we got to save a little bit because we are going to try something. We make no guarantees, no promises today, but we are going to try to pop on somewhere on Twitch tomorrow. If we get set up in time in the stadium and it's not sleeting in our faces,
right?
We're going to try to have a little bit of a pre-game for you guys, where we'll be able to go a little bit deeper into some stuff. And then pregame coverage tomorrow starts when?
5:30 on 92.9 The Game and on Odyssey and the Atlanta United app as well.
Oh boy, get hydrated, Mike. We got a lot of talking to do tomorrow.
I got to quit the Coke Zero and switch to water.
I finished my Red Bull and I have done the same.
All right, see you guys.
See you, Mike. All right, let's add Jarrett back to the show. What's up, Jarrett?
Not much. Didn't think about hydrating as much as you people have to. So
yeah,
I just had a cup of tea, so I'm happy. Like I just had hot tea to start my morning, and also trying to get over just feeling like crud for a week.
Yeah, you didn't die, which is good.
You're not dead yet.
No,
Hopefully you
yeah.
won't.
Call it being stubborn if you want to, but let's jump into the league.
Yes, we're going to sprint through the league and the games and some players to follow and some things to talk about. Last thing I will say about overreacting and don't do it because it's bad for your health. The branding of the shows on Monday was a joke because of all the overreactions. I'm not inviting overreactions. Trust me, if I could stop overreactions, I would. I can't. I don't have that kind of a power. It's going to happen anyway. All right. Let's get into the games. First game up tomorrow, 1:30 Eastern time. New England hosting FC Dallas. New England is a minus 189, 350 on the draw. Dallas plus 475. Alan Velasco is in Dallas. He is with the team, probably Frisco to be exact. They did not commit to him starting this weekend, which I understand. He was training on his own after the deal got done with Independiente. Pay attention to that because that's probably going to be how Thiago Almada comes into Atlanta United. Not going to come in match fit because it's been a minute since he's played a match. And his former team is not going to have him training to be match fit when he's not playing matches for them. So Velasco will be available possibly off the bench here. Dallas looked pretty good in week one. They got a draw. New England looked good in week one. They got a draw. Dallas was at home. New England was on the road. Jarrett, what do you think about this game?
I think that this is New England, but Dallas goes down swinging. Dallas seemed, if we're going to go strictly off of week one predictions, Dallas is going to open up and play, but that's also a good way to die by the hand of New England.
So New England wins to you.
New England wins, but I think it'll be fun. There will be multiple goals.
John, what you got?
Right there with you. As much as that plus 350 is a very tempting number, I'm going to go with New England at home, probably something in the Velvet Driving Slipper Lock of the Week category of 2-1. I do think Dallas scores. I think it's a fun match, but I think New England gets the Duke.
You're putting this as a lock of the week?
No,
you just did. You just said that.
What I'm saying is that it goes in that vein of 2-1 because that was what the score always was when I gave the
No, John. No. The lock of the week, it's your pick that is the most easy that's going to happen. It wasn't about a score line. Is this the easiest win on the board for you that New England wins this?
Oh, good Lord, no.
Okay, you said lock of the week. That's why I reacted that way. Because I'm picking Dallas. Dallas is going to shock the world. I actually
local man predicts his own death.
Hey,
film at 11.
It happens. I like Dallas and what they're building this team
I do too.
around. I like Velasco being part of it, not from the start, but maybe 30 minutes would be great. I thought Areola was really good for them last week, and you get another week with Ferreira and Pomacall and Areola, and you add Velasco into it. I think they can hurt New England out wide. New England is playing a pretty narrow game right now. Dallas's strength is out wide. I think Dallas can take advantage of them out wide, and I'm picking Dallas to win. I'm feeling bold. Maybe it is the mountain air. I don't know. Toronto hosting the New York Red Bulls, 2:00 tomorrow, BMO Field. 163 on the board for Toronto, 170 on the board for the Red Bulls, 240 for the draw. Complete and utter toss-up. Jarrett, what you got?
Red Bull.
Ooh. John, what you got?
Draw.
I'm going to go draw as well. I'm going to go draw. Toronto impressed me.
Toronto impressed me as well. I like what Toronto's building, but Toronto also, there were a lot of gaps in that defense.
There were. It got better, though. It did get better as the day went on. I think it'll be better this week.
I worry about them getting turned over up the field, and Red Bull is basically recreating what they did against San Jose, which is, hey, turnover. Hey, look at that huge gap in the middle of the field. Let's just do that.
Yeah, the thing is, I think that might actually play to Toronto's strength here, because I don't think they're all that organized defensively yet, because you've got wingers who have converted into fullbacks.
They're just going to yeet it down the field?
No. I just think that when the game breaks down as Red Bulls want it to, it's not as disruptive to Toronto, because Toronto's not very organized to begin with. So chaos, you've got these wingers playing defensive roles. It's chaos by nature for them. So I don't think it will affect them as much. I do think Red Bulls will make it difficult for Toronto. I don't think Toronto is as good as they will be later. That's why I think it ends up as a kind of wild 2-2 draw is what I would go with.
All right.
Okay.
3:30, Sporting Kansas City hosting the Houston Dynamo. Can Kansas City bounce back? Can Houston have a little bit of excitement here? We will find out. -118 for Kansas City. Draw is 275. Houston is 320 on the board. I am not going to be adventurous here. I do think Kansas City's got some issues. Peter Vermes booted Jose Maury out of the team already. That was wild.
And made his ass get kicked out, y'all.
That was wild. He came on as a sub. He got subbed out, and Peter Vermes is like, yeah, he's out. He's gone. Uri Russell is injured. They're going to have to probably play Espinoza as the 6, which is possibly a little dangerous. Remy Voltaire could be the 6. I think they'll figure that out against Houston and be good enough.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be a blowout, though. Houston was competitive in game 1 against RSL, but I think Kansas City gets the win.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think that Sporting gets the win at home. I think that Houston grows into the season. I think that if you're going to get them now.
Was that Peter Vermes emailing you, John?
That was Windows protection for some strange reason popping up.
Fair enough. It's Kansas City. There are many rules in life. One of them is don't take Houston on the road until they prove you otherwise.
Sure.
Kansas City might have issues in that 6 role. Houston still on the road is kind of the trump card here.
Yeah. I
could see Houston scoring, but Kansas City going to score too.
Yeah,
that's going to score more.
Yeah, Sporting scores more than Houston.
That's normally how you win matches, guys. Well done.
Mm-hmm.
Good job. Montreal hosting Philadelphia, 4:00. Montreal +145, Philly +190, draw +230. John?
I'll go with Montreal at home.
Okay.
Philadelphia. They're going to miss Kyoto.
Yeah, they are. This is a tricky one.
Yeah, I was thinking about it.
Well, you picked already, John. Why are you still thinking about it?
No, but what I'm saying
So
is,
has anyone checked on Janssen to make sure his chest hasn't completely caved in Orlando after that vicious punch?
Caved in. Completely caved in. He's done.
Like Kung Fu Hustle style, comedic cave in.
Yep. Went to the other side.
R.I.P.
I'm going to go with a draw here.
Thought about it, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go draw. I need to see more from Montreal. Great in CONCACAF. Hangover last week in Orlando. How do they bounce back? Philly, I think, will be very good this season, but drawing on opening day the way that they did, it did give me a little bit of pause. I'm sorry, Rich Ransom and Perfect Tommy. I'm sorry, but I got to see it first. I'm going draw. I'm going draw on this one. All right, Jarrett, your beloved San Jose Earthquakes hosting 4 goals on the board last week. Columbus Crew. Here's the odds. The draw is 260. Both teams are at 155. The ultimate toss-up.
Mm-hmm.
Nope. This is basically whatever's left of Theoden's court charging into the Hornburg, except the Rohirrim doesn't come down the mountain. God bless you, San Jose. You're going out on your shield.
They're just so weird that they maybe can make things happen from sometimes, but I don't know if this is the one they do.
They are,
John,
but
what do you think?
We're not going to be able to predict it when it does happen.
That's true.
I'm going Columbus in this one. I really am.
Y'all are gutless. San Jose wins at home. Totally disruptive to Columbus wanting to play. The Red Bulls can't be disrupted because they are disrupted by nature.
You can't disrupt disruption.
Yes.
You can disrupt Columbus with Cade Cowell and Christian Espinoza as wingbacks and Jackson Ewell as a center back and a hydra of a midfield with Jamiro Montero and Trophies stealing headers at the near post. I think San Jose wins. I do.
Caleb Porter would be so you would be able to bottle his hatred and anger after that and drizzle it over a
imagine Almeida v. Porter at the end of the match if something like that
Porter is going to be apoplectic if that
he's
happens.
Not a bad loser. He kind of has been at times.
He has been. Come on.
A little bit. He might. I think what you're going to see from Caleb Porter in this one is he's going to have his iPad and he's going to show his assistants like a picture of San Jose defending and say, "What is going on here?"
That's why he's going to be apoplectic.
How can you not penetrate this and score some goals here, people?
Because you can't. Because it's like reading Sanskrit. You can't just look at it and decipher it. It's going to be so weird and chaotic. It's going to be like reading a dead language.
I'm just going to
Do you see this here? How can you not make sure that we score with this showing up here on this iPad?
I still think quickly before we get in trouble.
He has his Tom Brady moment.
I'm moving on quickly before we get in trouble. Real Salt Lake hosting Seattle, 6:00 Eastern time. 190 for RSL, 150 for Seattle. The road favorite, 220 on the draw. John, what are you picking?
Road favorite, Seattle.
Jarrett, what you picking?
Seattle RSL. Sorry. I'm laughing at the Twitch pitch.
I don't even want to look.
Seattle.
Last time they played was a scoreless draw where RSL had 0 shots, I think. Last time they played in Utah was a 1-0 win for RSL. I'm going to go draw.
Okay.
I'm going to go
draw.
We're
turning into John. Man, Mountaineer is doing things to you.
I got some wild picks this week. It's early in MLS, man. Things happen early in MLS. Things get
early
weird.
in Denver, Colorado.
It's like the start of I know Olympics are over, but it's like the start of short track speed skating. Everyone's just crashing out and bouncing off each other.
It's chaos. Yes, it's early in Colorado, John, but I'm not calling something the lock of the week that's a toss-up, okay? I haven't done that yet. I think I can easily see this as a draw. I think RSL makes it difficult for Seattle and tries to contain them and look to hit on the break. And Damir Kreilach is somebody who can ruin your day.
Jimmy Frylock also picked as the most underrated player in the league by the CSOs.
Yeah. I would potentially agree with that. Also 6:00, Vancouver hosting New York City. NYC is a +100 on the road. Vancouver is a +250. Draw is +275. How many goals are you picking for Tati Castellanos, Jarrett?
2 and a yellow card.
Fair enough. Would that be enough for the win?
No, it'd be a draw.
Wow. What did you see out of Vancouver losing 4-0 in Columbus last week to think that they can get a draw against NYC?
A functioning manager that will threaten their lives to get a draw today. Also, New York City is, man, look, Vancouver's in a better place managerially than they've been in a minute. New York City's going to want to bounce back from this. It's still a long-ass way to go from home. So
it is.
Give me a weird draw, like a couple, maybe like a 2-2 draw, just drunken West Coast game.
Fair enough. It's not that late, but it could happen. John, what you got?
This is the velvet driving slipper lock of the week for me because of what we saw or what we didn't see from Vancouver last week, what we've seen from NYC. I think Tati Castellanos scores 72 goals and gets a yellow card, and Vancouver doesn't have Maxime Crépeau anymore. So I think that this
72 goals
in 90 minutes. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm the one who's lightheaded. I think NYC wins. It's not my lock of the week, but I do think NYC wins.
I could see it.
Vancouver's not making the playoffs this year. That's my take at this point. Could change by week 4. Chicago hosting Orlando. I'm baffled by these odds. Orlando on the road +333. Draw +275. Chicago at home -125. Huge.
Hit that Orlando right now. Hit that Orlando plus right now.
It's a good number, but do you think they go to Soldier Field and win?
I do.
You do?
I think they looked good. I mean, remember, this is early season Oscar Pareja. This is the Oscar Pareja that hasn't crawled into his turtle shell yet.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true. You have no belief in Mr. Shaqiri.
I believe in Shaqiri. I don't believe in what's around him yet.
That's fair. That is absolutely fair. John, what are you picking?
I'm going with early season Oscar Pareja as well. I think Orlando gets the win, and I like the number too.
I love the number. I'm a little worried about the number. I'm usually not the one who flies the black helicopters on this show, but I'm really wondering what's going on with this. Orlando City has they won their first 2 trips to Chicago back in the day, but last 5 Chicago have won 3 of them, 2 draws.
Okay.
Kasper Shabilko has lit up Orlando in his lifespan. I don't like it, but I'm going to pick Chicago here.
Okay.
I'm really
given the history, I can see why you would do that. Bato gets 2 goals, by the way. Let's call it now.
No, let's not call that. Why? Why are we calling that? Why are
early
you calling
season MLS, buddy?
You want early season MLS? Let's have early season.
Oh,
MLS.
Here we go.
Cincinnati hosting DC United.
Jesus.
Cincinnati +250. Draw +260. DC 105. The road favorite, the home dog. Well, they lost 5-0 in week 1, so they are a home dog.
Yeah.
Do they bounce back, John?
No, DC.
Why?
Just cause Cincinnati.
Just cause. Did you watch DC in their first game?
Cincinnati's
Did
worse.
you watch them?
Cincinnati.
DC didn't exactly look good in
No,
week
but
1, so I'm not going
Cincinnati
just cause on nothing.
Cincinnati's worse than DC. This is a game that you do not need to watch at 6 o'clock. DC.
No, you don't need to watch.
Oh crap! I'm going to have it on a separate TV.
No, why?
This is the sickos game of the week, buddy.
Jeez,
They're not both very good, but Cincinnati's worse. That's why I'm picking DC.
Jarrett.
Cincinnati has a lot of issues. DC wasn't that impressive. I could be persuaded in DC into a really ugly win, but I'll just take the draw straight up. How about that?
I am being persuaded into an ugly draw. DC has never lost to Cincinnati. Keep this one in mind. 3 wins, 3 draws. I just didn't think DC was very good against Charlotte either. No. So
poor Alec Can.
I'm not really buying into DC much at this point. I'm not buying into Cincinnati at all.
Cam's just in a shooting gallery at your local Midway Carnival.
At times, yes. It's also 6 o'clock. Minnesota hosting Nashville. The Loons plus 140 at home, 220 on the draw. Nashville 210 on the road. I can't hit the button fast enough, Nashville.
Yes, exactly. Nashville at 210. Jeez.
I got nothing on Minnesota here as a team that can be favored at home against Nashville. I'm not buying it. Nashville can go on the road and at a minimum get a result. I think they get a win. I think their new 4-3-2-1 or 4-3-3 when the two underneath flare out with Davis, with Godoy, with McCarty. It's going to be hell for a lot of teams in the Western Conference. Minnesota's one of them. Nashville wins.
Yep. I told you, like I said this week, they are basically Thanos at this point. Man, yeah, Nashville. Minnesota, you're not going to enjoy this because they're going to be really organized. They're going to frustrate you and annoy you at every moment. And the second you let your guard down, Hani Mukhtar is going to punish you, and you're going to wonder what happened.
They've only played one time before, Minnesota and Nashville. And Nashville, it feels like they've been around a lot longer than they have. Scoreless
it's
draw.
Because the last 2 years have taken 3 years.
That's true. Scoreless draw last time they played. I think Nashville gets a win this time.
Nashville is not the same team they were when they came in the league, y'all. They have attacking talent, not to just you, and that's just you two, but like to anyone. Like Nashville's not just a bunker team. They have when they want to get out and play, they can hurt you. They just love to be structured, and Gary Smith revenge tour continues.
Yeah. One of the best signings in the offseason was Sean Davis to Nashville. Charlotte hosting the LA Galaxy, 7:30. Big Boy Fox, Homer Simpson Fox, Brandon Walsh Fox. 190.
Emilio called 2-0 Charlotte, by the way.
Okay. 190 for Charlotte at home. Draw is 250. LA Galaxy plus 138 in this one. 75,000 people expected. BOA will be packed. What will the scoreline be, John?
Oh, let's see. I'll go 2-0 LA Galaxy.
Okay. Jared?
I think they get one, and then as Charlotte's chasing, I think the Galaxy get a second.
2-1 Charlotte.
Wow, he went there.
70+ thousand at home, big energy. They'll get a goal. They'll get off the deck, and they'll get one late. Chicharito will score and will make their life hell. I think Charlotte pulls it out and basically plays up to the moment. And it's a great night for the game and a great night for Charlotte.
I think they do play up for the moment. I do think, as Miguel Angel Ramirez said, it will help them to have a natural number 9 up top. I really do. They'll be better. I think the LA Galaxy are a much better team, and I think they'll show it early. I think Charlotte will get a result here. I'm going to go 2-2. I think it'll be sloppy at times. The Galaxy are not great. They're better than they have been in recent years. They're a playoff team, I think. But this is going to be such a wild, weird night, I think, for Charlotte. And at first, I could see them struggling with all the emotion. I think as the night goes on, they're going to get empowered by it. And I could see Mackenzie Gaines creating something late with his pace. I'll go with a draw. I'll go with a 2-2 late draw. I don't feel great about it. It is probably my least sure pick of the weekend. I've had some doozies so far. It is the one that I'm worried about the most. I would not put anything of any value on it.
Yeah.
But I think the crowd and the atmosphere is going to make weird things happen. So I'm going with a late equalizer for Charlotte. All right, let's move to Sunday, 4:00. Austin and Inter Miami. Oh, buddy. Austin minus 161. Draw plus 300. John, stop being a spoiler. Miami plus 450 on the board.
Wow.
Jeez.
Austin won 5-0 in opening weekend. Miami drew scoreless with Chicago.
That 5-0 needs to be dissected.
It does.
It was Cincinnati.
There are a lot of questions in that 5-0 about how good Austin is versus how bad Cincinnati is versus how much of that matters.
There are. This feels like a very dangerous set of numbers. I'm just saying.
Mm-hmm.
What are you picking, Jarrett?
Give me Austin at home with the win. It's not. Oh, obviously it's not going to be 5-0. But give me the win at home because as much as Higuain pulls the strings for Miami and does a really good job of it, you can convince me based on week 1 returns, and this might change, that Miami goes the route and becomes this year's Chicago, where you're thinking they created 5 great chances and got 1 goal. They're converting at a comically low rate. And I could see Miami being that team where Higuain is pulling the strings, setting people up left and right, and they just can't put the ball in the back of the net, which is the simplest damn thing to do in the sport, but also the most difficult. Give me Austin in a close win where Miami feels like they threw it away.
John, what are you picking?
I'm going with Miami in this one.
I'm really tempted. I have not been too high on Austin coming in. I don't think they've really added enough to compete in the West. But you score 5 goals against anybody. You have to take note of that. Cecilio Dominguez with 2 of them. I think you have to take note of Gonzalo Higuain creating 7 chances. And I do think he'll be really effective as a 10. I think they've got some guys who can find the back of the net. Feels like a lot of these this week where there's like things that counteract one another with the 2 teams. I'm going to go with Austin to win this.
Okay.
But that Miami number and that draw number especially really jump out at me. I feel like Miami is heading in the right direction.
Yeah.
I do like what they did in the offseason. I like Higuain as the 10. I got to see a little bit more before I jump at that number. I got to see just a little bit more. I'm not quite there yet. Austin at home has generally been pretty good for their level of play. And for where they are as a team, they've been competitive at home. I think they can get this win at home. I think they do. Last game of the weekend, LAFC hosting Portland. LAFC minus 175. Draw 320. Portland plus 475. The LAFC hype train has bounced back up. Last 2 times these teams played, Portland won them both. One time at Bank of California, one time in Portland. Jarrett, what are you picking?
This is 10 p.m., buddy. This is MLS After Dark.
Yeah, this is MLS After Dark.
This is peak too, because this is Giovanni Savarese and a counter pressing LAFC team.
They played 3 times last year, and Portland won all of them. Sorry, even more.
Give me a really, really fun drunken draw.
You're going drunk draw. Is that a 2-2 or more?
That's like a 3-3 draw. That's
You're
like
going
Carlos
3-3.
Vela has 2+ goals, and like Yimi Chara does something stupid again. I just think it's going to be a blast.
3 straight 2-1 wins for Portland. The only team to manage 4 straight wins over LAFC is San Jose, 2020 and 2021.
That's still the funniest random stat. Like random somebody has your Horcrux in their back pocket kind of
San
situation.
Jose had it. It was weird.
That's why it was hilarious.
Weird. Jarrett, what are you picking? Or John, what are you picking? Sorry.
I've got to go with the hype train right now, LAFC. It's not the same Portland team as it was last year. Everybody, it's, I've got to go with LAFC in this one again. Stipulating MLS After Dark, but I think it'll be crazy win for LAFC.
I think Portland wins on the road. I think LAFC beat a bad hungover from CCL Colorado team. Colorado was bad from Colorado perspective. I don't think Colorado is a bad team. I think they were bad for their performance.
Colorado was still sitting in the snow like Jack Torrance.
They're still trying to figure out how Comunicaciones goalkeeper kept saving everything. Colorado was bad last week. LAFC was pretty good. Portland was pretty good against New England, a much better team. Portland's had LAFC's number. Savarese has no problem being the heel here and having numbers behind the ball and sitting back. Santiago Moreno, Jimmy Chara, I think will be huge in this one. I do think there will be goals in it. This will be MLS After Dark. I'm going to go with a 3-2 Portland win. I think they'll give up a couple sloppy ones. I think they'll ultimately get the win. I'm going Timbers.
They're going to kick Vela all around that field.
They will do
Diego
that.
Chadai is going to kick Vela up and down the 405.
They will do that as well. They just do that just for fun, and not even anything personal against Carlos Vela. They just like kicking people. It's Portland. They'll enjoy it. All right, let's get into fantasy advice before we go. The Pro Rel League kicks off this weekend. Check your emails. You should have a link there if you have not already gotten in. I had to check my email this morning, and then I'm in. I don't know how. I think other people, I think clubs disappeared, and that's why I got to stay in the Pro Rel League because I had horrible luck last year. Let's see if I have better luck this time around. Goalkeepers, defenders, locks, considers, values, according to Ryan Walker with your fantasy advice, sponsored by the Jason Wright Agency. Zan Kolmanic is an Austin defender, 6.5 million, 4% owned. He is the lock for Ryan. He would be liking the Austin number against Miami. I don't hate that at all. That's a good value. And when that percentage of ownership, I think, is really important to consider, especially when we're talking head-to-head matchups. Because if you get that one guy that the other person doesn't have, we're all going to have some of the same players, just the nature of it. But when you get that one hit with somebody that's not owned by very many people in the league, you can rise up the table. Kolmanic is one. I mean, it's Austin, Miami. A lot of people are going to be looking at some of the bigger, higher profile games. If Austin pitches another shutout, bonus. Good stuff for him. He was the highest scoring defender last week. Consider Brandon Bye, who had a goal last week, 6.5 million versus Dallas. I would not go in that direction. As I talked about with Dallas and New England, I think Dallas will hurt New England out wide. I don't think Bye will get forward quite as much because I think he'll have to defend more. Owned by 7%. But when you talk about defenders who get forward and get involved, Brandon Bye is usually at the top of that list. I just think the matchup will make it difficult. If Dallas doesn't win the flanks, if they don't control the play out there in the attack, he will get forward and he will cause problems. I'm betting on Dallas on that one. So I'm betting against Bye in my fantasy week. Value pick, and this is one to keep in mind because Matt Turner is still out. Foot injury, might be back for next week. Brad Knighton, 5 million, 3% owned. If you feel like New England handles Dallas, and I think you guys both did, Brad Knighton is a really good pick this week in fantasy as a generally backup goalkeeper who will get the start here.
I went the other way for the value pick and went with Earl Edwards, considering he started last week. Obviously, it'll be a game time decision to figure out if it's Knighton or Edwards. So he is on my roster.
Okay. So you're picking Edwards to play. Okay. Could be. Yeah, it's going to be down to that decision for it.
And I still have some cap space where I can negotiate Knighton versus Edwards if it changes.
That's the way to play it, is if you have both in your team, you got to be paying attention early because that's the first game of the weekend. You know, if you want to go either way, you can do that. Edwards could be the guy there. So also, but keep in mind, as Ryan points out, and this is one to consider, if you put Knighton in and Edwards plays, then you have the potential to shift your team around a little bit, put a defender on your bench or put a goalkeeper on your bench. He would go in and you might be able to pick one up later. So you do have a little bit of wiggle room here because it's the first game of the weekend. So keep that in mind. Midfielders, forwards. Carlos Heel is the lock. You can see Ryan is all over New England this week against Dallas. I am not so sure of that, my friend. 11 million is the value on Heel, 26% owned. My lock here, and I do have questions about Columbus in general, but they were so good in week one. You get the chaotic game with San Jose. Even if San Jose gets the win there, there's going to be goals in it. It's not going to be a 1-0 shutout for San Jose.
Right.
So my lock is Lucas Zelarayan because he was so good last week. He's my captain. I think he's going to get goals. Even if San Jose wins that, it'll be 3-2 or 4-2 or 4-3 or 5-2 or who knows what. And Zelarayan will get his opportunities to get points. But if you are big on New England over Dallas, Carlos Heel is your man. Consider, and this is why I asked you, Jarrett, what you thought about Mr. Shaqiri. He is the consider for Ryan's at fantasy advice. 9.1 million is the value, 13% owned. I've generally had questions about Orlando's defense over the years. Shaqiri is an elite attacking talent. You do have to consider him for this week.
Yeah, you do. And Montreal did create some opportunities. They just weren't really able to convert anything in those opportunities they were creating. Shaqiri will get opportunities. It's not a bad idea. And that should be a fun game.
Could be.
I don't, like I said, I still have questions about the people around Shaqiri.
I do too.
And that's, so if you're going to take someone, take him.
I do too. I think Shaqiri's a great signing, but does he have enough around him? We're just going to have to wait and see a little bit. It is one to consider for sure. The value pick is Pablo Ruiz, 6.2 million RSL against Seattle, 1% owned. And Ryan says, typically an RSL player going up against Seattle would have a tough time making my lineup. But if Seattle rotate ahead of CCL next week, he wants a piece of the action. I don't know if Ruiz would be my guy in that moment. You could look at some other RSL scoring options. I'm not solely against RSL in this game, but I do think it will be more of a low-scoring one. You're going to have to hit on the right one if you want to take a shot at an RSL player here. The idea of Seattle rotating is absolutely valid. RSL has had success against Seattle as well. Pablo Mastroeni will ruin your day with a defensive game plan if he has to. You might want to consider a value pick from RSL defensively for that reason. So keep that in mind. But Ruiz, 6.2 million, 1% owned. If he is the guy who gets the goal and they win 1-0, you're going to be a very happy man with your fantasy team. Ryan, thank you for sending that over. ATL Ryan Walk ED is the Twitter account. Soccer Down Here Fantasy League Week 2 option sponsored by the Jason Wright Agency. Make sure you're following the agency at Jason Wright AGEN on the Twitters, and you can find him on Facebook as well by searching for the Jason Wright Agency. That is gonna do it for us. I have to get hydrated. I have to drink all the water I can possibly find in the city of Denver because this altitude is crazy. Get ready for this game tomorrow. Be on the lookout from Mike and I's Twitter accounts for potentially a pre-game from Dick's Sporting Goods Park tomorrow. Also, make sure you are following our friend Matt Pollard at Last Word on Soccer, LWOS Matt Pollard. He is doing something as well, I believe, on Twitter Spaces, and I might be making an appearance on that. So stay tuned for all of it. I'll be back in Atlanta on, very early Sunday morning, or no, it's going to be Sunday morning. It's not going to be qualifying as Saturday night in Atlanta. So Sunday, you're probably not going to hear much from me until the afternoon games. And then Monday, it is Overreaction Monday. I do ask you not to overreact too much in general. But if you want to, you can share your overreactions with us on Monday, #Overreaction Monday, 9:05. Jarrett, will you be overreacting on Monday with us?
I will probably be reacting. How about that? That's be
good.
Reacting both here, and I'll be reacting in print on SDH on the SDH.com. So we'll see.
SoccerDownHere.net.
Yes.
Whatever.
Yeah, don't go to the other one.
SoccerDownHere.net.biz.
Yes.
/.gov.
And don't forget 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon as well on the Atlanta United Twitch channel. It is Atlanta United 2 and Greenville Triumph up at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta Training Ground. So give yourself a little bit of a pre-game, catching the twos in Greenville on the Atlanta United Twitch channel tomorrow as well.
Yep, and then 5:30 Eastern, we are on 92.9 The Game on the Odyssey app, on the Atlanta United app. Pre-game coverage, match will kick off about 6:08, and then we'll have a shorter than usual full-time report, probably 20 to 30 minutes or so we can catch the plane, so we don't get left here in Denver in the altitude or snow or sleet or whatever is going to happen tomorrow. Cross your fingers for us. It's going to be cold. Yippee. We'll have the game for you, though. We know that much. Thanks for hanging out with us this morning. Thanks to Greg Garza for hanging out with us as well. Every Friday, the free kick is at 9:30 with Greg and Michael Parkhurst, trading off, taking turns, hanging out with us, talking soccer, talking about Beyond Goals mentoring. Make sure you're following them as well. We'll be live next week too, and we'll talk about it all next week on Thursday for our next live show, getting ready for the Charlotte match. Oh boy, we'll get to that after tomorrow. Y'all have a good rest of the weekend. Talk to y'all Monday. Mucho platiel.
Mucho platiel.
Mucho platiel.